Pull a stack of marriage records and one detail keeps surfacing: Eric married Erica. Then another: Eric married Erica. Keep flipping: a Dennis who became a dentist, a Laura in Louisiana, a Phil who settled in Philadelphia. For 17 years, psychologists argued those weren't coincidences, that your own name was quietly steering your life. They called it implicit egotism. The headlines were everywhere. Then one researcher took a wrecking ball to all of it. Here's the strange part: he didn't prove the effect was fake. He proved it was smaller and sneakier. And the sneakier version is the one that's probably touching your life right now. Start where it actually started, not with census data, but with a stack of paper in Belgium. 1985. A psychologist named Joseph Nutten runs an experiment so simple it sounds broken. He shows people pairs of letters, just letters. Pick the one you like more. No reason required. There's no right answer. It's like choosing between two identical gray socks. People shrug and pick one. But the picks weren't random. People chose letters from their own name far more often than chance allows. Nutten called them name letters, your initials especially, your first initial most of all. It's the letter you've drawn 10,000 times, on forms, on lockers, in the corner of a card. And this wasn't a Belgian quirk. It replicated in language after language, alphabet after alphabet. Different scripts, different cultures, the same faint tilt toward the shapes that spell you. Now, a preference for the letter K is a party trick. It doesn't change anybody's life. So a second wave of researchers asked the obvious question: does the tilt scale up? If you like your letters, do you like your street, your job title, the person across the table? In 2002, Brett Pelham and his colleagues published the paper that lit the fuse. They went digging through public records, birth data, occupational registries, census counts, marriage licenses. Their finding: Dennises and Dennises looked overrepresented among dentists, Lawrences and Lauras among lawyers. George seemed to drift toward Georgia, Louise's toward St. Louis, Virgil's toward Virginia. Hardware stores run by Hanks, roofing companies run by Ricks. The paper's title involved Susie and seashells. And the marriage records were the showstopper. People married partners whose names resembled their own. Not identical, just similar. A shared first letter, a rhyme, a shape they'd already learned to like. It's a wild claim, so hold it loosely for now. But first, understand why anyone found it plausible. The mechanism isn't mystical, it's ownership. You like things more the moment they become yours. Not expensive things. The chipped mug at work you've decided is your mug, and quietly resent other people using. Psychologists call it the mere ownership effect, and it kicks in fast, minutes, sometimes seconds. So consider, what have you owned longer than anything else you own? Your name. You had it before you had memories. It arrived before your preferences did. Every good thing that ever happened to you was announced with it. Every award, every welcome. So the letters pick up a coat of warmth. Not affection exactly, more like the absence of friction. And here's the detail that turns this from a cute quirk into something genuinely unsettling. That warmth tracks your self-esteem. Researchers now use letter preference as a backdoor measure of it. Ask someone directly how they feel about themselves, and they answer strategically. Everybody does. But ask them to choose between two letters, and they have no idea what's being measured. So the letter test slips past the guard, and it moves. That's what convinced people it was real. Deal someone a small blow to the ego, a rejection, a bad review, and the effect gets stronger. The self feels shaky, so it grabs harder at anything stamped with its own initials. Which means this was never a preference for letters. It's a preference for you, leaking sideways. And it only leaks when you're not looking. That's the part that broke people's brains. In the lab, this thing lives in the first half second. Flash the letters. Force a fast answer. Under time pressure, the pull is clean and obvious. The name letters win. Now change one thing. Ask people to slow down and explain the choice they're about to make. The effect thins out. Sometimes it vanishes completely, buried under reasons that sound much better. And when Nutten asked people why they'd picked those letters, almost nobody named the real reason. Nobody said because it's my initial. They said it looked nicer, sounded rounder, just felt right. They weren't lying. They genuinely didn't know. The preference had arrived without a receipt. That's the whole shape of it, real enough to measure, invisible enough to deny with a straight face. If that just reframes something for you, that's exactly what this channel is for. Stick around. Because the story doesn't end with a tidy result. It ends with somebody tearing the result apart. Through the 2000s, implicit egotism went from a single finding to an entire genre of study. One study reported people gave more to hurricane relief when the storm shared their initial. Kate's moved by Katrina. Rita's pulled toward Rita, a tiny nudge in real dollars. The press releases wrote themselves. Your name picks your spouse, your name picks your career. And a claim that clean eventually attracts exactly the wrong kind of attention. In 2011, Yuri Simonson, a researcher who specializes in finding the crack in beautiful results, pulled the records himself. His question wasn't, is this real? It was, what else could produce this exact pattern? Take Dennis the dentist. Names come in and out of fashion in waves like haircuts do. Dennis peaked in certain decades. So did everybody currently old enough to have a dental practice. Compare dentists to the general population, and you're partly just comparing two different birth years. Line the ages up properly, and a big chunk of the dentist magic quietly evaporates. Now the towns. Why are there so many Jacksons in Jackson? His answer is boring and devastating. Because a family named Jackson settled there generations ago and had children. Who had children? The town isn't attracting Jacksons, it's manufacturing them one generation at a time. Surnames pool in places the way one family's name ends up on 3 storefronts in a small town. And the marriage data, all those Erics and Ericas, hid the quietest confound of all. People tend to marry within their own background. That isn't a secret, it's most of the data ever collected. And names travel with background. 2 Polish surnames look alike because they're Polish, not because of a hidden pull. Compare people inside the same pool, and a lot of that spooky name matching flattens right out. One by one, Simonson walked through the flagship findings and showed a duller story fit just as well. This is the part people get wrong when they retell this at dinner parties. He didn't show the effect was invented. He showed the evidence couldn't carry the weight it was given. Those are different accusations. The first one ends a field, the second one cleanses it. And crucially, the little Belgian letter experiment that started all this never wavered. The lab preference is still there. It's been replicated for decades all over the world. It doesn't depend on census records or ancestry or which decade you happen to be born in. It's just a person, 2 letters, and half a second of honesty they never authorized. So what survives isn't the headline. It's something narrower and honestly stranger. The pull is real, but it's faint. A thumb on the scale, not a hand on the wheel. Which means it can't move the big things. Nobody picks a career because of a consonant. Careers have salaries, families, luck, and a guidance counselor standing in the way. A faint force loses to all of that. It gets crushed by anything with actual weight behind it. But watch what happens when a decision has no weight behind it at all. 2 coffee shops, equal distance, you've tried neither. 2 usernames, 2 strangers' profiles side by side. 6 resumes that are basically the same resume, and you've been reading them for 40 minutes. That's where a faint force wins, not against your reasons, but in the gaps where you have none. And then something worse happens. You explain the choice anyway, out loud, with total confidence. You say the coffee place had better light. The candidate seemed sharper. You say you just clicked. That last one deserves suspicion. We just clicked describes a feeling, not the cause of the feeling. Sometimes the click is real chemistry, sometimes it's familiarity wearing chemistry's jacket. So here's the useful part, and it's smaller and better than your name runs your life. When a choice feels obvious but you can't say why, treat that as a flag, not a green light. Ask one question, would this still feel obvious if it had a different name attached to it? Usually yes, and you move on. Occasionally no, and you just caught a thumb on the scale. The research didn't collapse. It shrank into something truer. We drift, faintly, toward whatever reflects us back. Small enough to miss, reliable enough to break a tie, invisible enough that you'll defend it as taste. If this reframes something, like it and subscribe. Next, why the first thing you learn about someone rewrites everything after it. Go count the coincidences in your own life. A few of them aren't coincidences.